Welcome, welcome everybody to Reset Your Ideal Weight for 2018. Woohoo! Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be awesome. No matter where you are, no matter where you live, no matter what phase of life you are in, you either have or know someone who could stand to lose a few pounds. It's just the way we are these days. And Dr. Carolyn Dean is going to tell us how to do it. And what's even better is it's so simple. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Wait till you see how simple it really is. And not only is it simple, but it's super effective. And we've got great testimonials for you already of people who've been doing this, following this protocol, and have had great results. And it's going to fit with your lifestyle. And not only that, but you're going to feel great. We're so, so happy that you joined us today. And listen, I don't usually ask people to do this, but after this is over, when the replay comes out, I want you to forward this to a friend because everybody can benefit from this type of lifestyle change. It's actually really important. It's very important for your health. So I want you to take the link that we send you and I want you to forward it to a friend because they need to know what we're going to tell you today as much as you will benefit from knowing. And before, of course, I bring her on, Dr. Carolyn Dean, who is a medical doctor, as we all know, with so much experience and a naturopath, meaning, somebody said, what does that mean? She's a naturopath. And what that means is that her degree in medicine is she not only has a degree in allopathic medicine, which is what the AMA recognizes, but she has a degree in natural medicine, which is what Mother Earth recognizes. So she's got it on both fronts. She's also an author and she has written so many books, but the one you know the best, of course, is The Magnesium Miracle. And all of the free books that she writes for all of our customers, which are on our website that she provides as a resource. Not only that, but she's a great teacher. And that's what she's going to be able to do today is teach you how to consider this whole opportunity and enterprise of using your body's natural metabolism and what it's willing to do for you to let go of some extra weight. So, Carolyn, welcome. And I'm so excited.
Yeah, Ginney, you let me be the guinea pig for all these exciting things that I do. And then I can't help but share it and be excited about the results. And the basis, the bottom line is this is going to be about the ketogenic diet that I've been experimenting with. But because we have the completement formulas, the total body reset bundle, what I realized compared to other times that I tried to do caloric restriction and lose some weight, using the recommendations of the minerals, the supplements that we use, and I'll get to all those. Even doing the preliminary for the yeast detox, using the psyllium and bentonite to absorb toxins that are released during fasting and during the keto diet, all that makes it work. So this is why it's different. I mean, you can read a lot about the ketogenic diet, and there's almost too much out there. It's overwhelming. So I tried to clarify things. I tried to make the booklet shorter than it is, but there is so much to share. So basically, we're going to reset your ideal weight. On the next slide, it tells you about the keto being high fat, moderate to low protein and low carb. And it immediately becomes a little bit tricky because we say it's 60 to 70% of calories from fat. Now, because there are 9 calories in each gram of fat compared to 4 calories in protein and 4 calories in carbs, then if we look at the grams, you have to look at a person's weight. But write this down because I didn't get it into the slide. A lot of people say that the number of grams for the average person of fat is 50. So 50 grams of fat. the percentage of calories of protein, 15 to 30%, and that's about 0.5 grams per pound of your weight. And that's low compared to a lot of guides about protein in the diet. But we'll also get to more numbers later. And then 5 to 10% of calories from carbs, and that's about 20 grams. And because it immediately gets a little bit tricky, I started out by looking at the carbs. So that's the next slide. If you keep your carbs between 20 to 50 grams, then you start burning fat. And fat burning can be gauged by doing ketone urine sticks. And we'll get to that. To keep these numbers in check, read your labels. Everything's on the label. I don't like a lot of labels because they don't tell you anything about nutrients like magnesium, but they will tell you about fat, carbs, and protein in grams. And a food list that I came upon that gives the number of grams for the various foods, especially your carbs. It's called Keto Size Me Food List. They have a grocery list too, but you want the Keto Size Me food list. And carbs, as most people know, they're your grains, your peas, beans, fruit, vegetables, and sugars, including milk sugar. So the next slide, basically, the webinar follows my Reset Your Ideal Weight booklet that you'll get at the end of the webinar. And I guess what I'm doing is giving you sidebars on maybe what didn't get into the booklet because there is so much information. So I'm saying why keto now, and in the booklet I give a brief history of diets, and it may be that as our diet became more processed, sugar was more available to us, that we did start gaining weight. And I go into that discussion to try to give an overview. I claim to be the historian of health and wellness and illness because I've been around so long, because I saw the ketogenic diet decades ago, and there was not enough research on it back then for me to get behind it. But now there is the research, there's the science behind it. And with this epidemic of overweight, where 75% of adults between 50 and 70 are overweight or obese. 75%. When they tell you 60% of the population is obese or overweight, they're talking about, everybody, all ages. But in our age group, 75%. So at the age of retirement, instead of enjoying a carefree life, people are applying for a wheelchair and financial assistance to be able to afford a dozen medications for their obesity-related diseases. That's where we are. So what the brief history of diet brings you up to blaming it on the fruit, and that's my personal journey. Because when I moved to Maui, I became a fruitaholic. I can go on a morning walk and pick up fruit and be eating it. So at a point where we 10 years ago when we were here, I was in my late 50s, and I had never had one extra pound on my body in my whole life. And eventually, over the years, I gained about 15 pounds. And I do blame it on the fruit. And when I began looking at what to do about it, I've already mentioned, I tried to to fast. I tried to cut calories. I exercised like a fiend, and nothing worked. And I don't know. I guess it was just the overwhelming input in my inbox of all the people looking at intermittent fasting and ketogenic diet. So I started looking into it and quickly came across a website. I think it's, dietdoctor.com. And one of the doctors that was speaking on this site, speaking in videos and YouTubes, is a Dr. Jason Fung, Fung, and he's a Canadian. He lives in Toronto, and I say in the book, it's the home of Banting and Best, who discovered insulin. And Fung is a kidney specialist, and he saw that most of his kidney patients on dialysis were diabetic and were overweight or obese. And he said, I have to get to the bottom of this. And he began looking at intermittent fasting and the ketogenic diet. And he's done some research, but he also uncovered a lot of research showing that if you can stop the body from just burning carbohydrates by reducing your carbohydrate intake, then the body will start burning fats. And that's all this is about. It's just avoiding the easy way out for the body to just keep on burning your carbs. And by not having carbs in your diet that build up in your liver's glycogen, by being readily available to always be put into your cells as the energy source, then your body has to turn on its fat burning. And when you're burning fat, you're creating ketones. And as I mentioned, you measure those in your urine, and it gives you a heads up that, oh, I'm in ketone burning zone. And then you can experiment after you lose some weight and you want to balance out. You can experiment how many carbs you can eat before you go throw yourself out of ketosis. So the next slide, it's about the side effects of the keto diet. Now, this is kind of interesting because people assume everything has side effects. The very complex, ill people that come to our Total Body Reset bundle and protocol and our Remag to start with, they can start having side effects because their body starts working better. It starts having energy, and some people don't know what that feels like. It starts kicking out toxins. It starts dumping heavy metals. And this is where, at the end, when we talk about the complement formulas, we will be recommending that you use our detox formula called Realign, because when you start breaking down fat cells, you will start dumping toxins, because fat cells are where we store toxins to try to keep them out of the bloodstream, keep them from bothering us and affecting us. So this keto flu and dizziness and drowsiness, sleep problems, heart palpitations, constipation, muscle cramps. I mean, look at them. Those are, they're toxic symptoms, but they're also magnesium deficiency symptoms. And what I say is, instead of waiting to get constipated or have heart palpitations or muscle cramps, keep taking your Remag, or start taking your Remag, so that you prevent magnesium deficiency. And a lot of ketogenic practitioners, they're not clinicians, or they're not natural medicine clinicians, so they don't know about supporting the body with nutrients, which is what will keep you from having these keto diet side effects. And the next slide is how allopathic physicians look at the side effects of the ketogenic diet. They say, oh, it's low blood sugar, or it's insulin resistance caused by hormones shifting, or it's electrolyte mineral deficiencies. And, it's a bit of all three. One of the rules in the ketogenic diet is only eat when you're hungry. And a lot of people, they'll misinterpret dehydration as hunger, or they'll think they're a bit woozy and think they're hypoglycemic and rush and have some sugar. So all those things seem to be alleviated when you go on the psyllium seed and bentonite, when you go on your minerals, when you do your realign, when you do the whole total body reset bundle and formulas. The next slide, because dairy has a lot of fat, especially cheese. It takes about 5 quarts of whole milk to make 1 pound of cheese. So it's high in fat. Just look at your labels. What you worry about, or what I worry about with dairy, is it's high in calcium. A cup of milk can have 300 milligrams of calcium. A friend said his wife was drinking like 4 quarts of kefir a day, and I just really got worried that 4 quarts? You're getting 300 milligrams in a cup, 4 cups in a quart. That's 1,200 milligrams per quart. 4 quarts, you're getting 5,000 milligrams of calcium a day. That is not sustainable. So when you're doing the ketogenic diet, if you're using a lot of cheese, then you may have to take more magnesium. I found that. And of course, you're going to take your Remag. And about the sugar, the milk sugar is called lactose. And if there's a lot of lactose in cheese, people can grow their yeast. And you can also, I don't know that you develop diabetes on lactose, but you can also be allergic to the lactose. So the low lactose cheeses are what saves you here. I'm having great fun testing all these different cheeses. I know cheddar is very common, but most of the other cheeses we don't really, Swiss is common, Brick is pretty common, Colby, but I don't think a lot of people realize that these are low lactose cheeses. But remember, every gram of a cheese is 9 calories. So you get overweight on this diet. And someone already asked us a question, well, I don't want to lose weight. I'm going to gain weight. So eat your fatty foods and eat a lot of them. So the next slide, a brief history of fasting. I mean, that's basically, when I came on fasting in the 70s, it was just don't eat anything, just drink water. And they didn't obviously use the bentonite and psyllium and the things I'm talking about today. So a lot of people got very concerned about just strict fasting. And they started doing measurements of the toxins that were formed, and especially if people didn't drink enough water. And of course, we recommend sea salted water. So there's a lot of evidence that fasting wasn't that good for a person. And we started following something that Dr. Jeffrey Bland talked about, using meal replacement or protein powder fasting to help detox. But what has happened more recently is a lot of studies on, are we really burning off our muscle when we're fasting? And they can do urine testing and blood testing to show that we do not do that. In the short fasts we're talking about, I think I'm forgetting the timing, but it could take weeks before you start having to burn muscle. You are burning fat when you are fasting. So the brief history of fasting, again, it's in the booklet, and diverting the detox. I've mentioned that now a couple of times. This is your bentonite and your psyllium seed. So in the book, I talk about the dosing. Begin with 1 to 3 teaspoons and take up to a tablespoon twice a day in 4 ounces of water, along with psyllium seed while fasting. If you're using psyllium seed as well, you use more water because you don't. Psyllium seed, if you don't use a lot of water, you can get constipated by taking psyllium seed with only 4 ounces of water. So you're going to add at least another 8 ounces of water after you take your bentonite and psyllium seed. And if that sounds a bit too complicated, just get the booklet and go to the section called divert the detox. And with the total body reset fasting, we're talking about the sea salted water, taking your realign twice a day, your RNA drops twice a day, your psyllium and bentonite, and your remag, remite, and recalcia in your sea salted water. And with the fasting, I guess a lot of people talk about feeling badly on it, and all my preliminary talking now about the bentonite and the psyllium is to say that as you're absorbing those toxins, as soon as you're making them, you're absorbing them, then you do not have to suffer the headaches or the dizziness or whatever people suffer when they're fasting. And if you feel like you're hungry, just drink some of your sea salted water, drink some of your remag, remite water. And if you feel your stomach kind of grumbling a bit, I thought it was kind of cool, to listen to my stomach sort of gurgling along. And I really did not feel hungry. Now you may feel hungry and you will try to overcome it, but what you want to do is just 24, 48, or 72 hours. Get a hold of your keto sticks. I have the resource. Actually, let me see if that's the next slide. Oh, it's about coffee, so I'll jump there in a minute. But get a hold of your ketone urine dipsticks. I got mine off Amazon, and after 24 hours, you should be forming ketones. Definitely after 48 or 72. And then what you do is you just launch into the ketogenic diet, eating the 70% fat and 25% protein and 5% carbohydrates, and maintain the ketones coming out of your urine as you weigh yourself every morning and see that you're losing a pound a day, which is the most common amount to lose on the fasting portion. When you're in the ketogenic diet, depending on how much food you eat through the day, again, that sounds like calorie restriction, and it's true, because you don't need to eat as much when you're eating fat. It totally seems to satisfy a person's hunger, so you don't really need to eat that much fat to keep your body satisfied. And the less you eat of the fat, the more you can keep losing day by day. This business about coffee, and we've had already some questions about the Bulletproof coffee. And it's coffee where you put in MCT oil. It's a type of high fat oil that the keto people use, or you put in a lot of heavy cream or whipped cream or coconut oil. I'm sure it makes the coffee very tasty. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I never developed that habit or addiction, so I don't have to worry about it. But I do remind people that coffee is a diuretic. It'll drain out your minerals. It is stimulating, so a lot of people with low adrenals and people who want to stimulate their energy, they will drink coffee for those reasons. But we find people on our completement formulas, they're remeg and they're realigned to detoxify. They don't need an external stimulant. And coffee does drain your adrenals. As I said, we use our minerals for energy, not stimulants. But I'm not against having a morning coffee at all. But just be aware that if you're in the midst of an adrenal weakness and you're using coffee for energy, then you may require more magnesium. And the next slides, I mean, just quickly, because this is what I did. I'm not big on recipes. I just sort of grab the food I want. So I'm basically showing you how I fast in the morning up until I'm not eating any food until 11:30. So it's like I'm doing an intermittent fasting on a daily basis, because I'm going from, let's say, it might be 7, 8, or 9 o'clock at night until 11:30 the next day for my high-fat salad. I depend a lot on macadamia nuts. And then I don't eat again until 4:30, and then I might have my berries and coconut milk and cream in the afternoon. I mean, sorry, yeah, in the late afternoon, early evening. And what I realized actually, and I write about this in the book when I wrote this out, it's like, gosh, I'm not eating very much. And I haven't really done the weight scale and measured it all. But some days, as I say in the next slide with the entrees, I'll have scrambled eggs with coconut milk and a couple strips of bacon. The lamb chops, that's high in protein, so I really have to use a lot of butter on my green beans. And restructure, I have one right beside me today, my smoothie with 1/4 to 1/2 a cup of macadamia nuts and my coconut milk and kefir and some berries. There's a nice organic berries and kale frozen product from Costco that I use. And then you can put peanut butter or almond butter into your smoothie. The next slide, continuing the entrees, chicken, salmon, soup with lots of coconut milk. It's mainly just adding fat to what you're eating. The next slide, high-fat snacks. I love the fact that the 80% cacao dark chocolate bars, I can have a few sections of those a day, and it's very high fat. Frosanas, that's a recipe that's in the book. People may have heard about it. That's a 2-inch section of frozen banana dipped in cacao and coconut oil. So cacao is high in fat. It's also high in magnesium. Coconut oil is fat. And you will get some carbs, of course, with the banana, but that's my dessert. It is a high-fat dessert. Nuts, of course, high-fat, and I'm getting into peanut butter and almond butter. If I'm a bit hungry and I'm going to the pool and I don't want to have a big meal in my stomach, then I'll just take a teaspoon of peanut butter or almond butter. The next slide, cheese and peanut butter. They're good. Salami, I'll eat that with some cheese. And the berries I've already mentioned, berries with whole cream or coconut milk and kefir. So this is it's a lot of animal protein. vegetarian keto fats in the next slide. You're looking at whole eggs. You have to eat the yolk because that's got the fat. You're looking at dairy, avocados, olives, nut seeds, nut butters, coconut oil, coconut milk, MCT oil. Vegetarians will use the MCT oil to get their fat up. But for a vegan, I think a keto diet would be difficult. And I don't know enough about it to advise, but you'd have to look into it. In the next slide, I seriously, this is more than you ever wanted to know about coffee enemas. I think they really helped me as well in the first 3-day fast that I did to start the keto diet. And I do like coffee enemas, and sometimes I think I'm maybe getting a bit of a coffee high, but I just try to do one a week. During the keto diet beginnings, I was doing them more often. So I'm not going to say anything more about the coffee enemas. You can read it in detail, because often people say, well, how exactly do I do it? And seriously, this is step by step. The next slide is the keto diet forever. And I don't know. I'm in the first couple of months now. I'm thinking of staying in the fat burning zone maybe 80% of the time. And why do I want to do that? To maintain my weight, to protect my pancreas, to keep my insulin from surging, to prevent diabetes, heart disease, and kidney disease. Now, I know I'm not going to get any of those, but what if we find out over time, if we keep on stressing our pancreas, and then kind of we're waiting for our blood sugars to be bad before we do something? Why don't we protect our pancreas from the insulin surging right now, when we have this information from the canaries that have gone before us and have gained all this weight and are having all these problems? So that's what I'm going to be doing. Is I'll weigh myself every morning. I'll try to stay in ketosis, and I'll know that if I do gain a couple of pounds, like I did over the holidays, then I can easily drop those. That is the most beautiful part of this whole diet, is being in control of your weight. I was beginning to really be concerned, and I didn't really look overweight. I don't think I felt overweight because nothing fit, but it's really quite empowering to know that I can lose weight when I want to, and also to know that I am on a healthy diet that sustains me and keeps me from being hungry. I mean, this is a tasty diet. I think I had a slide next about what about exercise, but I don't see it here. But I do have that in the booklet. Definitely keep exercising, especially if you're going to be losing weight. You want to keep your skin from sagging. You want to have the muscles bulking you up where the fat used to. So do keep on exercising. It is very important for our circulation, to keep your joints activated. When they say that the only diet most people get is moving in and out of their car or up and down in a chair, we have to do much better than that. I think I'm good with all that information now, and I see the next part of the slides are implementing more the helping reset your weight, the helpers that help reset your weight. And I'm going to stop now and see if Ginney wants to ask questions from the chat about what I've talked about, and then Ginney will continue with the helping reset your weight helpers. Okay, Ginney.
Hi, Carolyn. Okay, yeah, we've got a lot of questions here. Okay. One of the things that people are concerned about and want you to say more about is the idea of doing this as a vegetarian. You did touch on it a little bit. So if the question is, what about vegetarians that don't eat animals? Does this system work for us? I see that most solutions comprise broth and collagen.
Well, I didn't even talk about broth and collagen. We do talk about that when people need potassium, but I haven't gotten into the broth stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if you have to use broth. I don't use broth. I find it tedious to make. I did buy a number of cartons of broth once, and I couldn't even get it down. So I'm not the person to ask about broth. And yeah, Chad, maybe if you could go back to, let me see where the vegetarian slide was. It's number 16 on my list. All I can say is these are the lacto-ovo vegetarian keto fats. And what Diet Doctor has, dietdoctor.com, and I've seen some vegetarian keto websites, you'd have to go there. I can only speak about my personal experience, and I don't like to speak about things that I can't work with. Whenever I've gone on a vegetarian diet, it's knocked me out. So I'm not able to do a vegetarian diet. I don't know what more I can say about that, Ginney.
Okay, but I want to balance this out a little bit too, because part of the way that this is working is not just because of a keto diet. It's because of the intermittent fasting, right?
Okay, good.
Which is a big part of it. And it's also because of the formulas that are helping maintain the body's nutrition as people fast. Because a keto diet alone doesn't get it done. Otherwise that would be, So can you talk a little bit about the intermittent fasting? Because all vegetarians, vegans, and everybody can include that. And then the formulas, we'll add on and we can talk about that too.
Okay, very good. Look at Ginney. You're so smart. Well, with intermittent fasting, again, Dr. Fung in Toronto, he found that, yes, he had to put people on the fasting to help them lose weight. And we're talking about hundreds of pounds. So this was something he had to do. And exactly like Ginney said, it's not just a low-carb diet. And basically, it could be 1 day a week, it could be 3 days a month, or you don't, personally, I wouldn't like to go more than 3 days a month. Some people in the beginning can do 3 days every 2 weeks. And it's a lot of drinking of your sea salted water. It's taking all your formulas. I find that taking the bentonite and the psyllium in the morning and in the evening filled up my stomach. So there's that to look forward to as well. You will find people talking about dry fasting in the intermittent fasting forums. I don't trust that. Dry fasting is not drinking anything, not eating anything. And that's just crazy because you want your cells to be dumping toxins and you want your cells to be working, and they need water and minerals to do that. Are there any specific questions about the intermittent fasting yet? But Ginney's perfectly correct. The intermittent fasting is the key to, as I said, jump-starting the diet and also losing the weight and keeping it off.
Right. And I think, Carolyn, when you first started it, you did 5 days of intermittent fasting. You did a 5 day fast, and then
Yeah,
now you're doing intermittent fasting. So
that's right.
that's
Uh-huh.
in the book, but you have to pay attention to that. And also, if you go to look at the obesity code by Dr. Jason Fung, he really
Mm,
is the one who created the expertise around intermittent fasting for health. Now,
mm,
I know there's a lot of intermittent fasting that has to do with weight building. These guys who want
uh,
to do the intermittent fasting where they don't eat for 16 hours and then they backload carbs and they're trying to bulk up and they get their muscles big. This is not what we're talking about. So please,
mhm,
pay attention to the distinction that Dr. Dean is creating. But if you look at Dr. Fung's book on Amazon, and even if you read some of the
mm,
reviews that are on there, people will talk about their experience with the intermittent fasting and how they modified it. Some people do 4 hours a day. There's all kinds of different ways to do this to make it work for you. And that's what we want you to do, is make it work for you.
mhm.
We just like
Uh,
no dry fasting, like Carolyn says.
right. And the closest I wrote about this years ago was what is it? Liver snacking in the
Right.
Completement Now health modules. And Chad, we might add liver snacking as another gift to the webinar participants, because that shows how just spacing out your meals can be an intermittent fast, and the logic behind it and the reasoning behind it. And that I did not put in the Reset Your Ideal Weight booklet. And I didn't place a lot of emphasis on fasting or intermittent fasting, because I don't know who's going to take this book and run with it and have be on a dozen medications and very unhealthy, and they go on a fast because I told them to, and then they get sick.
Right.
I don't want to be in the middle of that mess.
Right.
So
That's true.
you have to be so intelligent about this, and read the book. Go on the websites. Fung's book. I talk about it in the book. Thank you for bringing it up, Ginney. You have to do your research, and it has to feel good for you. You cannot say to your neighbor, "Well, Dr. Dean is doing this diet, and I trust her. I'm going to do it too." You have to do your research. Don't just take my word for it. I'm not prescribing this for you. I'm just outlining the possibility that this could work. So,
Very good. Okay, well, I'll prescribe it for you. Now, I'm just teasing. Now, because I have, myself been through an entire lifetime of up and down yo-yo dieting, and the way that I
Mm,
have lost the weight that I've lost in this last 6 months is through intermittent fasting and cutting back on my carbs and using the complement formulas, even though I didn't know that was exactly what I was doing. But now that I have terms for what I was accomplishing, I know
mm,
this is working. And my nephew has done the same thing, and he's lost, unbelievable amounts of weight.
mm,
And it is just not even about the getting rid of the carbs because of the insulin resistance and the way the body metabolizes glucose and burns fat. And this is what you're kind of after, which is why, like Dr. Dean says, it's important for you to educate yourself. And she's giving you the template, and then you've
mhm,
got to kind of color it in. It's like a coloring book. She's given you the lines and the spaces, and now you use your own experience and your own wisdom to kind of color this in for yourself. But when you gather the information, you're going to see that it turns into quite a beautiful picture. And the other thing is, it's very effective for maintaining, like you said, Carolyn, the weight. And it's delicious. It's very
mhm,
easy to do, because
mhm.
everybody knows that those crazy useless carbs, which most people are off of anyway, of our customers, because they're on a yeast-free diet, and they
Yes,
can't
yes.
eat a bunch of grains and crappy crackers and empty
Mhm,
calories. They can't eat it.
mm.
It just tears their bodies up.
Well, even as early as last year, I was saying, well, how can you cut out all carbs? That doesn't make sense. The body must require them or we wouldn't have them. But then come to find out in the research, carbs are not essential. Your body
Yes.
can actually kind of do a, what is it, retro uh, fitting. No, it can take fat and protein and make whatever little bit of carbs you need. What's it, back engineering? It
There
can
you
back
go.
engineer it. And carbs are wonderful, they're tasty, but think about even the paleo diet that they're talking about. Think about ancestral history of nutrition. What did they have back then in the way of carbs? They had some berries. That's it.
Right. And
What?
right.
Hmm.
And the benefit of berries like raspberries and things like that are usually, Carolyn, as you know, the bioflavonoids, the
Mhm.
phytonutrients, the phenols or
Mm,
whatever's in them that
mm,
really are a digestion and are so important in that way and have very little to do with the uh, other things that people think are important, like, taste and just boosting your energy. That's what everybody wants to do. Well, the way
uh,
you boost your energy is by burning fat
mhm. And taking Remag and
and taking Remag.
Remag.
That's right. Ding, ding, ding. Remag. Okay. Now let's say this. Here's some other questions. Somebody wrote in, do GMOs make you fat?
I don't know that, but GMOs are not good. I know, I forget the name of the guy who lectured the circuit when I was on it about GMOs. And he said when he got doctors to tell their patients to get off GMOs, that they would lose weight and lose bloating and all the rest of it. So it makes sense because when you're eating toxic foods, your body will dilute them with water and you'll have a lot of water and fluid retention. That's all I know.
How does the keto diet work with somebody on the Candida diet?
It's just more fat. It's the same diet, but the emphasis on fatty foods. There's really no big difference.
Okay, very good. But let's also just add that with the Candida diet, one thing that you will do to accelerate that process is adding the intermittent fasting. So we've got to keep that. If you're already doing, Dr. Dean's yeast diet, which I think this person is, because I know her and we've been in relationship for quite some time, then what you're going to want to do is consider this intermittent fasting element and see how that also accelerates your progress.
Right.
If you're special, go ahead.
Right. Yes, here's what I put in the book. The keto diet is very close to a yeast reset diet, except for the lactose in dairy products. Thus, some of the symptoms of keto flu can be attributed to yeast die-off. Also, when you burn fat and break down fat cells, you release stored fat-soluble toxins, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I don't say much, but that's basically it. If someone is um, gets their yeast symptoms when they eat even the low lactose cheeses, you'd have to be aware of that. I know I'm fine now with the low lactose cheeses, and I get symptoms when I eat too much fruit. I get my yeast symptoms when I eat too much fruit. So it was very interesting for me to do that experiment.
Oh, okay. Very good. Excellent. Okay. Excellent. All right. What about cholesterol? Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, I don't believe in cholesterol, the whole cholesterol myth. So for that information, where do I talk about that, Ginny? In my remake book?
Well, you've written a great blog on it about the great cholesterol con, I think is what
Oh, yeah.
I think is
Mhm.
what you have. But just touch on it real quick so we can get it in the record.
Yeah, actually, it's in Magnesium Miracle
Oh,
book. I have a
okay.
whole section about how it was a real myth about a couple of researchers who gave oxidized cholesterol to a couple of rabbits and gave them artery disease.
Yeah.
So oxidized cholesterol, that's not what we eat. That's what gets created actually if you don't have enough methionine and the methylated B vitamins to break it down. So that's all coming out. What am I writing about now? Oh yeah, in my Realign booklet, the whole this whole business about needing B vitamins and magnesium to keep your cholesterol in check. So it was a real myth, and it turned the industry around. The fat industry, everybody was against butter and against our sweet little eggs and egg yolks. You really have to understand the manipulation of the nutritional. It's not the nutrition; it's the commercial food industry. They don't even think about nutrition. The manipulation for profit. And you really do have to read The Cholesterol Hoax by a wonderful Scottish doctor. He's got a wicked sense of humor. It's a great book. So it's a myth that cholesterol is bad for you. And then the myth is accentuated and extended to think that we need drugs to beat down cholesterol. We need cholesterol for all the cells in the body. They all have a fatty membrane that comes from cholesterol. We need them for our hormones. The reason why Viagra is such a big seller is because all these poor men mostly are on statin drugs, and it affects their testosterone and their libido. Poor President Trump is on a statin drug, I learned, with his health report. I wish someone would get to him and tell him, stop taking that.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay. All right. Here's a good question, social question. How do you eat when you go out with friends? I hope you're using a knife and fork, Carolyn.
Well, it's even easier because there's eggs, there's cheese, there's bacon, there's fatty cuts of meat. It's pretty easy. You would avoid the dessert. Salads are fine because salads, yeah, that's a carbohydrate, but it's more of a fiber carbohydrate. When you look at that food list that I recommended, you will see that all the salad vegetables, everything except root vegetables, are very low in carbs. And it's the root vegetables, the carrots and the turnips and the what do I love? Parsnips. They are all very sweet, so they are higher in carbs. But then I was surprised how much I could eat just with 20 grams. And now I'm sure I'm up to like 50 grams and still maintaining my weight.
Okay. And we've got probably about 20 questions and about 7 minutes left. So let's do some rapid fire. What about using the restructure with the ketogenic diet? They sound contraindicated.
No. And I described that in the booklet. Restructure has 11 grams of protein. What is it? 5 grams of fat. It does have some fat. So what you do is you add macadamia nuts or you add the peanut butter or something with fat in it. It's very easy to manipulate.
Yeah, restructure is great. Do our products contain soy? The quick answer is no. None of them contain any soy. Now, the question, I thought Rna Drops were supposed to help moderate weight and cravings. Bob is always talking about eating nothing but ice cream. Can you discuss the effects of the drops on weight?
Everybody has a different experience. So it's not, I don't think it's a weight loss or a weight gain product. It's a product that helps you be where you want to be. And that sounds, kind of bizarre. Be where you want to be, and it helps make perfect cells, working through making your DNA copies more clear. That's about all we can say until maybe, as I said, in a few years, we can do the research on why do the RNA drops work.
Okay. Amelia Morgan is saying protein is vital. Vegetarians would have a problem with the keto diet. And I think, Amelia, that we discovered that they won't. And what's important about the keto diet is these beneficial fats. Carolyn, is that correct? It's a 60-40 something?
It's the fats. And in order to calculate your protein needs, go to my Restructure booklet. I have a section in there. The metric and imperial version, I'll go with the pounds. Multiply your ideal body weight by 0.35. And that will give you the number of grams of protein per day. So for every pound, you're eating 0.35 grams of protein. So 110 pounds, you only need 39 grams of protein. Yet when I look at the keto diet, they're saying, oh, you can have 50 grams of protein or even more a day. So I think following this calculation, I think most people are going to be okay on their protein intake.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. When you do the keto diet, do you need to go quote unquote all in? I'm guessing if you don't, then it's not really the keto diet, because you'd end up gaining weight because of having more fat in your diet, but still having too many carbs. Correct?
Right. Yeah. You if you're going to do anything, you do it right. Why wouldn't you? And as I said at the outset, with fat having 9 grams in, 9 calories, sorry, per gram of fat, then yeah, if you eat a lot of fat, you will gain weight. And some people want to do that.
Okay, very good.
But
All
if let me just say this, Ginney, but if you only when you're hungry, you won't be stuffing yourself with too much food. It is pretty hard to eat too much fatty food, because it's just too much. You just up to your eyeballs.
Right. Very good. Okay. All right. Now let's also go through a couple more of these questions. Does low calorie fasting twice a week count as intermittent fasting? And the answer is no. Intermittent fasting is literally not eating. Right, Carolyn?
That's right. However many hours, it's not eating. You're eating some carbs, you're burning carbs, and you stop burning fat.
Correct. So that's the structure. And again, you can look at Dr. Fung's book. He also has the complete guide to fasting that he's written as well. You can get him Kindle, Amazon. It's easy. Okay, here's something interesting. Dr. Anna Cabeca uses a form of the keto diet she calls keto alkaline. She says that keto works for women only when your food is 80% alkaline and no more than 20% acidic. Would you say that's right?
I didn't follow that, and I still lost weight and feel fine. I think that's getting too icky picky. I cannot follow the alkaline acid business without, it drives me crazy. I wouldn't.
Right. I wouldn't. It's not anything that anybody's pointed to as being really that significant. Okay, very good. But thank you for the contribution on that. Okay. I have been on a lot of no carb keto diets, and it just does not work for my lifetime experience. Patty is saying that, Carolyn. So again, you've got to look at the combination, Patty. It's keto, it's intermittent fasting, and it's using the products to feed the body while you're starving it through the intermittent fasting. These are the 3 factors. So this is not a keto diet. Dr. Dean is not a fan of a keto diet. We're talking about these 3 factors, putting it all together. Okay. So, and we're going to go over the products here in just a second. Our metabolic pathways, the body's way of using various fuels for energy, ever refined on diets such as keto?
It probably, if I grasp the question properly, our bodies were meant to burn fats rather than just relying on carbs as the easy way out. So I'm sure that's helpful, but like Ginney keeps mentioning, it is the intermittent fasting that really fine tunes the body. Because when you're fasting, the body kind of perks up and starts cleaning out the trash and taking care of business, because it wants to be more efficient with what it has. So if it's got limited resources, it's going to treat it very efficiently until you eat again. And perhaps that's another thing about a caveman diet. They they ate intermittently. So that's the way the body was built.
Okay, very good. And let's see what else we can get. Okay, I've noticed now that I'm going through menopause, it's very difficult for me to release weight. Exercise has not been helping. I just started reading up on Parasite Infestation. Your thoughts about that?
Well, in the ReSet, the yeast connection, I just spend a little time on parasites because again, I don't want to be diagnosing parasites in a little booklet. And I find that people who do the yeast protocol, the yeast treatment, and add diatomaceous earth. I think I put that in the book. Diatomaceous earth is my go-to for parasites. Then I think people can sort things out, but a diagnosis is very important. And you have to find a parasitologist who will actually take a fresh stool sample and look at it under a microscope to really find out what's going on. I know there are a lot of labs that say send in the sample, but by the time it gets there, especially in the preservatives they use, a lot of the parasites are killed off. Hopefully, as time goes on, they'll perfect the genetic testing for parasite fragments in the body, and then from the bloodstream. They're working on that, but right now we don't even have that great yeast tests, let alone parasite tests.
Oh. Okay, listen, we've got 10 slides to go and we're at the top of the hour. So we're going to go through these next 10 slides. I want to say this, support, SUPPORT at RNA ReSet is the place that you can always get a hold of Dr. Dean and ask your questions following this webinar if your question hasn't been answered here today. So again, support at rnareset.com is where we want you to write your questions, provide your details, and then Dr. Dean will respond to them. Let's finish the slides, Chad, because I know we were going to talk about the products. And again, we've got a tripod here for you, 3 legs of a stool. We've got the keto, which is basically reducing the carbs. We've got the intermittent fasting, which we've talked about, and now we've also got the products. You've got to, keep properly nourish your body as you're doing these kinds of things. The Remag, the Remite, the RNA Drops, the Realign, and the Restructure are all perfect for this program. And that's why Carolyn's been so successful. I've been successful. People that I know have been successful. And we're going to be able to hear your success stories too. You're going to be shocked how your body responds, because this is the perfect synthesis of keeping yourself perfectly hydrated, as we talk about in our hydration slide, Chad. We want you to still do the water. We want you to keep your body hydrated so it can flush those toxins out, and add that sea salted water to your body so that you can keep the little minerals. I say they're like little spark plugs in there that you're going to keep in your cells, and they're just wonderful little receptive catalysts for the magnesium and the other big heavy hitting minerals that we have in the Remag and the Remite. The next slide, as you know, we talked about it earlier. One of the things that is so important about this intermittent fasting is the way that the body responds to insulin and glucose metabolism. And magnesium is essential to control blood sugar, insulin, and glucose levels in the body. You've just got to have it. So what we want to do is we want to have the magnesium and the B complex vitamins. The B vitamins activate these enzymes that control digestion, absorption, and the utilization of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. They are going to help eliminate obesity, eliminate hypoglycemia, and the anxiety that comes along with going through sugar withdrawal, especially when you're in the initial phases of making these adjustments with your carbs. So what you want to do is you want to use the Remag and the Realign, next slide, Chad, to actually nourish your body, provide it with the magnesium and the B minerals that you need. The magnesium allows the insulin to usher glucose into the cells. It's like a butler. It opens the door and lets the glucose comes in. And that's where the ATP goes. It's like a factory in every single one of your cells. And without having that magnesium, that door does not open. So we want you to make sure, keep your pathways clear, feed your minerals to your pathways, leave your doors open, and then you'll be able to maximize everything that you're eating. So you'll just become a lean, fat burning machine. That's what we want you to be. The stress chemical cortisol signals a metabolic shutdown that makes weight loss almost impossible. This is what's happening with women who are saying, I'm menopausal, I've got this big tire around my gut. Same thing happens to men. All the belly fat is a symptom of cortisol, a metabolic shutdown. So magnesium is going to neutralize the effects of stress that are going to keep your cortisol levels low. This is also true with the Remite, which is going to work with the adrenals and help that adrenal agitation as well that also produces cortisol. So Remite, next slide, Chad, is going to be fantastic for you as well. 9 minerals that support the thyroid function. And when the thyroid is under functioning, the metabolism is going to slow down, causing weight gain again. So now here you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this keto, so I'm going to give up my carbs. I'm going to do my intermittent fasting, so I'm going to go spaces of time where I'm going to be giving up food. And you're going to be doing those two things. And that's what, other people are doing with success. You're going to have uber success. This is why Carolyn was able to lose what she lost. I've lost what I've lost, because you've got these other things working for you. You've got the Remite helping you with your thyroid, etc. Next slide, Chad. The Realign we talked about, that detox formula is fantastic. And somebody earlier in the webinar said, Realign is really helping me detox. And it does. Toxins collect inside your fat cells. So when you're dieting and breaking down fat, these toxins can be released and require Realign to help liver detox pathways. And if you want to know more about Realign, Dr. Dean is writing a book, which is fantastic. We've got an amazing FAQ that you can email us at support, SUPPORT, at rnareset.com, and say you want the Realign information that we've gone through, the whole big mishigas of how Realign works and why it's so important for you. So you've got that in your Total Body Reset bundle. If you're on the bundle, you just keep working with your Realign and knowing how beneficial that is for you as well. And then in the next slide, we're going to talk about the restructure. And we've talked about it. It is a high protein powder meal replacement. It is what they call, it has a low glycemic index, which means no sugar. So it's perfect for a keto diet. And it's also not high in fat. But let me tell you what I did with mine. I added the it's a Jif peanut butter powder. You get it at the store. It takes all the sugar out of the peanut butter and leaves in all the protein and fat. And it's fantastic, and it's very low carb. And you stick that in your restructure and it'll boost that up for you. And then, as Carolyn said, you can add coconut oil, macadamians. There's all kinds of great things. Oh, and do not leave out putting a whole egg in your restructure. I do it all the time, and it's fantastic to get the additional amino acids and the great fats, and you don't even taste it in there. And the last person on the face of the earth that should be doing anything with raw eggs is me, because they just make me want to vomit. But I just look my head the other way and I crack my egg in my restructure and I put it in there and I whip it up and I don't even know it's in there. It's fantastic. So consider doing that too. And on the next slide, we talked a little bit about the RNA drops. They're just so awesome and so wonderful, and the total mystery of all the things that they do. But you know what? I mean, I think a raspberry is mysterious. Like, I just read this huge article the other day about polyphenols and how many polyphenols. And here's another thing, Carolyn. Polyphenols, do you know the highest source of polyphenols are in cloves? Did you know that?
Oh my gosh. No, and I chew them every day.
I know you do. And it's so hilarious because polyphenols are so important for your body and your digestion, and they keep your blood vessels elastic, and they help control circulation and everything. So I'm reading about polyphenols. highest source cloves. And it just cracked me up because Carolyn uses cloves for breath mints. And I'm like, oh my God, there goes that girl. She is shoving this stuff down her throat and she doesn't even know why it's good for her and it's great for her. So, I think the RNA drops are like raspberries. They're just full of good stuff and you don't even know all the things that are in there because we don't have time to get it under the microscope and study it the way that people are doing some of these things. But we know it's fantastic for you and we know what the basis of it is. And we just know what it does to enhance your energy and support especially your state of mind. Very, very beneficial. And detachment is a very good part of that. Okay, next slide. So we want you to also consider, we've got the Prescript Assist. You can get it on our website now. Why are we doing this? So you can save on shipping. Because if you order these single products like Prescript Assist and Blue Oyster Royal from their people, which we don't mind, go ahead, it doesn't matter. But you are going to pay shipping at both of those companies too. So you can throw it in our box and it's less expensive for you. That's the main reason why we're doing it. But we love Prescript Assist. It's very good for people. We love the Blue Ice Royal and everybody has enjoyed getting that. We are starting to carry that on our website as well. And then we've also got the vitamin C complex in the Grown by Nature, which is wonderful. And of course, our Restructure has vitamin C in it too. Let's see, where are we with everything else? We've got any other slides, chat? Oh, and then we do want to avoid the high dose vitamin D. What do you want to say about that, Carolyn?
Yeah, that comes up all the time now because everyone's so pro vitamin D. You really have to Google my name, vitamin D, and how I say I don't like the high dose because it takes over your magnesium, and that's why we're carrying the Blue Ice Royal, so you can get food-based vitamin D. You have to study it because, as I said, Ginney, every day now I'm seeing more studies about the importance of vitamin D. And then I can search for studies that say, oh, I don't know. It's gone crazy, the research.
Okay, very good. Now, there's a couple things I want to, next slide, please. Just to make sure I'm on track with what we're doing here. Okay, and then managing your yeast overgrowth. And we talked about that a little bit, is that this diet is definitely going to help with the yeast overgrowth. So you are going to have this excellent opportunity to reduce the amount of sugars that are going into your gut by doing this. And again, we're talking about the keto, the intermittent fasting, and we're talking about using the products. Okay, next slide. Okay, these are the resources that we've got for you you're going to receive at the end of this webinar as well. And you know that the Magnesium Miracle is on Amazon. You know, we've got 8 free books at Dr. Carolyn Dean Live. That's our radio website archive, drcarolyndeanlive.com. Just look for the little book and click on it at the top, and there you go. RnaReset.com has lots of distributors in the world. We have one at the Botanica Health in the UK, Positive Health Australia, Narelle Blakeman, and we also have Phyto Plus, which is in Italy. So we're very happy that our products go out all over the world with great success. Dr. Carolyn Dean is always writing her blogs at drcarolyndean.com. And then our radio show is every Monday. And always know that you can Google Carolyn's name and see what comes up. So if you have a question about something, type in, arrhythmias, Dr. Carolyn Dean, and then you'll see bam, bam, bamity. And here comes all of her information. And you also you must know that you can always call or email customer support, and we will do our darndest to help you with everything that you need. Let me also just say that people that are like Karen, go ahead and send me an email and we'll have Dr. Dean take a look at what you're talking about. Exercise increases cortisol levels. So is there a particular type or frequency of exercise we are doing so we can benefit rather than hinder weight release?
Well, I mean, I don't know the research you're talking about. Exercise increases cortisol. There are stress cortisols that are produced for all kinds of different reasons, but I don't know what you're referring to. And maybe it is the crazy over exercisers. Well,
right.
we're just we're just talking about mild to moderate exercise.
Right, exactly. Okay, next slide, Chadley. Okay, so the free bonus gifts, we want you to go to rnareset.com/reset your weight. And they're all waiting there for you. Pardon the pun. RNAreset.com, reset/reset your weight. You've got Carolyn's modules and your free gifts there that you can use, including the liver snacking and stuff, and the book, which is the outline. And then again, remember, support at rnareset.com. We'll help you the best that we can. And I think you've got and you're welcome, Grant. Learned a lot today, ladies. Thank you very much. You're absolutely welcome. And I think you've got a great template for 2018. Take your time, do your research, write to us, ask your questions. We're here. We're always going to be here. And gather yourself together, get in the right frame of mind, and then launch. And you'll be amazed at what comes up for you. It will be, or what goes down, I guess, which would be the numbers on the scales. I'm such a trickster. Okay, Carolyn, anything you want to add?
I'm just looking a bit up about cortisol caused by exercise. See, what we're into now is a lot of testing and quantification, data collection, and yeah, your exercise is a stress. It will increase the cortisol, but then it'll go down. I mean, the up and downs of cortisol throughout the day are incredible. So try not to get trapped in someone just trying to, I don't know, create information or create some sort of jazzy, sexy headline and distract you from just using your common sense about these things. I don't know if someone's trying to say, well, you shouldn't exercise because of cortisol, but that's the implication. So just be careful about all the statistics you read these days, because you have to just balance everything out. And that's why Ginney says, and I'm starting to say, look, all the information you need is on our website. So just keep listening and keep asking the questions, and I'll answer as best I can.
Yep. And we're going to keep doing more webinars, you guys. And we're so happy that you guys are here. And listen, we're going to keep doing the Doctor to Doctor series. And next month, we've got another great doctor. But we are trying to get Dr. Fung on the show with Dr. Dean. So keep your fingers crossed for that, too. We've got lots going on this year. We are knocking it out of the park. You guys are on it with us and doing your part to just use the formulas to your health and benefit. And you'll see it's just going to keep getting, the better it gets, the better it gets. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ginney, and thank you, Chad. Great fun.
Yay! Bye, guys.
Bye.